What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Cass here, and we are here for one of my interviews today. I've been able to sit down and secure an interview with so I've done interviews in the past with different people from different walks, and my most recent interview a couple of weeks ago, as you guys probably remember, was one of the veteran indie wrestlers on the independent scene around where I live. So I thought I would try to get the exact, like, not an exact opposite, but a very different side of the field, as we have a up and coming guy that's really building his own platform and on multiple different social medias too. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Scott.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Caution, and I am the best backyard wrestler that ever is to walk the planet, do his thing, and pretty much, yeah. And I'm also the king of podcasts too. Anytime I come on one, we get this thing jumping.
Yes, sir. So, I got some questions lined down for you, Caution. So,
all right, let's get them.
So, everybody's gonna want to know, how did this all start for you? The whole idea of TWF. How did that all get started for you?
Well, me and my friends, we were just searching through YouTube one day, and we got a hold of KBW. And we started watching that, and we started arguing over who wrestler was better, and then we just decided to, kind of do our own federation. I was in, like, the 7th grade at the time, and, we had friends come and go doing it, but me and a couple other ones, we always just kind of stuck with it, and we just kept it going. I quit for a while, went out for 2 years, but was brought back by Derek Destroyer from another backyard wrestling company. It's a different world, and I like the aspect of it is pretty much building your own promotion in your backyard, pretty much, and that's why I push toward it so much.
Yeah,
regardless of its safety hazards.
Yeah, it's very much like your own niche, and it's funny. It's funny you got the KBW. That was actually a question I was going to ask you about later. So yeah. you would say that they were a big inspiration for you starting out.
Yeah, they were probably the hugest influence, along with the VTW guys and the NUW guys and EBW. There's thousands. Like I've gotten pretty close with a lot of backyard wrestlers, and watching their channels, it's crazy to see what ideas other people can just come up with inside of their own companies.
Yeah, and it's also got to be crazy to look at and see how far Cage has come from his KBW days to where he is now.
Oh, it is. It is absolutely insane.
It
was crazy. I got to meet the man too.
Insane. As a signee, in case you guys didn't know, the guy we're talking about is now signed to AEW, which is, would you say, top? It's the second. It's WWE and AEW are the top two promotions, right? In your mind?
In my mind, yes. I honestly, right now, I would put AEW over WWE. And that's just because WWE is kind of failing to do anything for ratings at this point. And AEW, they're just sticking with their, original idea, and that's what I like.
I just know, I know a lot of people, this isn't including me, but I know a lot of people are very, very, loving to the whole, the New Japan scene. And I was for a long time. But I have really gotten more into, like, learning more of the story with WWE and following more into, like, the actual art of wrestling with AEW, because I break them down as two totally different things. Because I don't think you can look at WWE and expect what you get from AEW. You're not going to get 5-star matches on every pay-per-view. That's not what they do.
Exactly.
But on AEW, you can expect to get the storytelling and production value that you get from WWE. It's two totally different things in my mind.
Exactly. I completely agree with you 100% on that because I don't know what it is about AEW. They just have all the factors that I like in it. They're shying away from creating a bunch of stories and dumb characters, and they pretty much just focus mainly on the wrestling, and that's what I like. No gimmicks, just cool shit.
I've really looked at it as thinking of it like this. AEW, when you break it down, is more the typical sport, like you would think of like a football, a baseball, basketball, stuff like that. And that would make WWE more of like the TV show, more of like the TV show about the sport, if that makes any sense.
Pretty much. I can see that.
Like,
I can see that.
The way they do the records in AEW, I feel like they're trying to make it as realistic as possible without making it too realistic like you would have had back in the day. So, that's okay, so we've got into how you started. You kind of got into this with all of that, but TWF isn't, it's your company, you're the original founder, but you have some guys running with you. So I'm imagining y'all all grew up together, right? That's how y'all all met?
Yeah, we all went to the same school, and we were all in the same friend group.
Okay, that really ties some things together. So
go ahead.
Oh, so overall, when would you say your love for wrestling overall started?
My love for wrestling, it was even whenever I was a kid. I mean, I watched it a lot, like in elementary school, like kindergarten level. My dad was a huge wrestling fan. Every time I go down there, he had some stuff on the DVR recorded, and I watch it. Whenever I got into backyard wrestling, I watched it a lot more. Like I binge watched the same episode of Raw on my dad's weekend because my parents were divorced, and I went down there every other weekend. I used to just sit there and I binge watched the same episode of Raw over and over and over again because it was just I don't know, it was just different episodes of Raw every time it would come on every week. Every time I go down there, it would be all I watched, as well as Impact Wrestling and like you said, New Japan Pro. Like I was watching all that all the time. It was always recorded, and I was just really getting into it. I just wanted to learn everything about it.
See, this is how I would say this would be probably a big difference. Like, I know, but this is going to be compared to my situation. I probably overall saw WWE first, but my first wrestling memory is a TNA memory for me, and it's weird to think about that for me. Like overall, that my first memory of wrestling that I can vividly remember me sitting and watching isn't a WWE memory. So my first WWE memory is Miz cashing in on Randy Orton. That's my first vivid memory. But overall, I'm gonna move on to the next question. What would you say overall is your biggest inspiration, like pro wrestling wise?
My biggest inspiration pro wrestling wise. This is a hard one. I'm gonna be honest. But I would have to say Jeff Hardy, because this is love for the sport. But I've been on an emotional roller coaster with that dude. I've watched him so many years going through in and out of his drug addiction and in and out of different things, but he always just kept the love for the sport, and that's something I've always admired. It didn't matter where he was, what promotion he was in, he was always pretty much giving it his all, unless he was on his stuff again.
Yeah.
But he's from North Carolina. I'm from North Carolina, and I never seen him as the big guy, and I was never the big guy, and that's why I liked him, because he was representing us little guys. And, he was doing it just as good as the big ones can. And that's why I just was always drawn to Jeff.
Yeah, no question that Jeff is a guy I feel like a lot of his fans would kind of agree with you sometimes, is overall, like, going through the stuff he's went through to be able to still come back when he really doesn't have to at this point. The stuff Jeff's done, he really doesn't have to prove himself anymore, but I still want to do it.
Exactly.
And that goes with a lot of guys like Randy in WWE or even AJ in WWE. A lot of these older guys that don't have to prove themselves anymore, that don't have to still show up to TV every week, but love the sport so much that they do. I think
That's
that
what I love. Like Randy Orton, it pains me. He said he was gonna retire at 50, and he's at like what I think like 45 now.
Yeah, and it's
like that.
Like it's crazy to think about that Randy, and this is something I've debated recently. And there's two guys. There used to be three, but there's two guys that if no matter what, if AEW ever took a massive lead over WWE, there's two guys I don't think that would ever leave. That's Miz and Randy Orton. Those are the two guys that I believe are company guys.
I believe that too. Randy Orton, he's very glued to WWE. I can't see him wrestling anywhere else, honestly, and because he's been in WWE for so long, and to see him in any other different company, it just kind of
it would be weird. It would be like, and even the comparison of people saying that they hope one day like somebody like a Stone Cold or a John Cena pops up on AEW. That just seems weird to me to think about.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Like, it was weird enough having The Rock on TNA a couple of years ago. That really weirded me out.
I didn't think I would see the Big Show in AEW, but I've seen him as a judge a while back. I don't know. I don't watch it very often. I'm kind of all over the place watching the episodes as of right now. But I've seen him on there the other week, and he was a judge for something. I never thought I'd see him. I seen Mark Henry there too. I see them as WWE guys, and that's what. It just confuses me whenever I see them on a different screen.
So, to get into something, I put this down as a question because the first video I ever figured out who you were, it was a TikTok video actually, and
gotcha.
It was you. I guess you had answered a comment about somebody saying that backyard wrestling is dangerous.
Yes.
So,
I think I know which one you're talking about. I get a lot of those comments.
That's what I was going to say. Do you get that a lot, and what's your biggest gripe with questions like that?
It's understandable. I mean, yes, it is very dangerous what we're doing. It's definitely not safe. I may be trained, but the people who I'm wrestling with aren't trained. And that's just I'm just trying to push my knowledge onto them, like what I know. I mean, I don't know everything, but I just try to push what I know, and then have us help each other out along the way. But we try to do everything as safely as possible, and we practice a lot. Like it isn't like we just kind of jump into the match and just do random things. We practice the moves over and over and over again until we know we can get it right. And if we can't get it right, then we just don't do the move, and that's pretty much how our federation goes. And we just try to do it, make it as entertaining as possible, but also don't kill ourselves. And we try to push that a lot. We try to push the safety factor, as well as we still gotta hurt each other. It's still wrestling, but not as much.
Knowing how the modern day world looks at wrestling, a lot of like modern people look at wrestling. Was this something y'all were very public about while y'all were in high school that y'all did?
It was something I was very public about. Me and the, I guess, co-owner of the company, you could say, his name's Ace. He's in the company. Me and him, we really pushed it during high school and middle school. We got bullied for it a lot. Not gonna lie, but we didn't care because we saw it as cool. Like I felt like the coolest guy ever doing backyard, and at the same time I was training to go pro, and I was really pushing it like it was my life. And high school ended, and then I just kind of quit wrestling pretty much for a while. And but as I've gotten back into it, I feel like I'm doing a lot better, and even have plans to go to wrestling school again sometime soon. But now, it was, people really did not like the fact of us doing it in high school and middle school. Like they seen it as weird. They seen it as stupid. I've even been called gay like about 1,000 times. I don't really care though.
See, that's because I can recall memories of being really excited when first day of middle school, because I'd sit over the summer and like watched wrestling, and in elementary school it was this big thing. You came to school and you talked about wrestling after Monday and after Friday. But it was like something changed the summer going into like middle school, and even more going into high school, because even going into middle school there were some people that still talked about it. But it was like going into high school, it wasn't cool to talk about anything anymore. And this isn't even just WWE related or wrestling related overall. This is anything that you liked that wasn't deemed cool enough, you couldn't talk about. And hopefully,
I feel that's very true.
Hopefully that as like stuff's becoming more, people are becoming more, oh, you don't like it, well, forget you then. As people are growing more of that attitude because of social media, and they're seeing people that they look up to have that mentality of, if you don't like my stuff, then forget you. Hopefully people grow more of that mentality, and then you see more people doing independent stuff that they want to do.
Exactly. That's why whenever I decide to go back to the indie scene, or I try to push the backyard wrestling aspect a little more. I mean, because I look on TikTok and I see backyard wrestling is a pretty much untapped market there, and maybe be able to push it, and maybe inspire somebody else to do it, like KBW did for me. And I want to push that, but whenever I get to indies, it's a matter of putting asses in seats and figuring out a way to do it, and that's pretty much what this new generation of wrestling is lacking, because they're not knowing what people want now, what people want to see. You have to be able to get them drawn back to wrestling. Like, you can't just go out there and do the same thing that people have been doing for the past 15 years. Put up a little hand motion, yell a little bit, and then go do moves that we've seen a million times. You actually got to go out there and do something original, and
agreed 100%. Agreed 100%. You kind of stole a Pat McAfee Brock Lesnar quote there. But there's one more question I really got. So you do like, your goal eventually with doing all this is to be a trained, like you are trained now, but to be a full independent wrestler. Is that your goal going forward?
Yes, that is my biggest goal in life right now. Is to be on the indie scene, and it at least be well known around my area, the North Carolina or even East Coast area.
Okay. So, say that does happen. What's your dream opponent? If you could face anybody that's alive right now, your dream opponent.
I'm going to be honest, I'm going to have to say Sammy Guevara.
Okay. I thought with your love for Jeff Hardy and also being from North Carolina, I thought that would be more the way you would go.
Well, see, the thing is, Jeff's getting a lot older, and I don't see him being in wrestling too much longer. I think that he's going to do this little. I think he's going to do this little AEW run with Matt, and I think that's probably going to be the end of it. And he'll probably make some appearances on the indies every once in a while. Like I just seen the other night, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He was out there doing his thing, but Jeff's getting old, and he's even mentioned many times, he was like, the body don't feel the same way that he used to. And Jeff doesn't want to rely on his painkillers anymore to get rid of that problem. And that's why that's why I had to say Sammy Guevara, because I put Sammy Guevara in my top 10 wrestlers in talent, because I've been following Sammy Guevara since he invaded the KBW channel back whenever he was young indie wrestler. And I started watching his vlogs and stuff back then, and I just pretty much followed his career ever since. I mean, even whenever I wasn't into wrestling for about 2 years, like I just kind of quit watching it and stuff, I still followed Sammy's career. as well as Cage's or Fuego's. I just followed both of them, and it would be a dream just to wrestle either of those guys because they're who I see as the new talent. Like I see them in bringing a new generation to wrestling.
So, are you hoping like with backyard wrestling in general, ever since there's not been somebody to the popularity that KBW reached? KBW was getting a lot of views per video. There's people out there that are still doing good, but KBW was getting a lot of views per video. Is that your eventual goal on YouTube-wise? Is to be like that new generation of backyard wrestling?
I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of companies. I don't think that my company in general would be a top guy. I mean, because we have currently 4 people on our roster, and that's not a lot. You know, you can't really do much with 4 people. You can only pretty much have the same matches over and over again. And being that at the area that I'm at, not a lot of people enjoy wrestling around here, and that's why I just try to find the people that do, who kind of share the love of it, and bring them in. I mean, we have one new guy in TWF, and he's like the only new person that we've had since 2016. But I would like to be one of the top backyard wrestling YouTube guys, but I don't think that's going to happen, I'm going to be honest. But it would be awesome.
Okay. When you were saying all that, the quote came to me. It goes something like, Rome wasn't built in a day or something like that. And
yeah, that's the quote.
Yeah. So overall, I think you're kind of right with the whole backyard wrestling not being a tapped market on TikTok. And this is like with TikTok in general has become the way to grow yourself in social media.
Exactly.
Because if you can get somebody to click on to one of your, or to just scroll through and see one of your videos and be entertained by it and have an aspiration to see more of that, then, and it's even better like having your YouTube link in your profile, able to, and then the person goes to your profile to look at more of the TikTok videos and they're like, oh, he has YouTube videos. Click on that. Now you've gained a viewer. That's overall how I think TikTok has been able to really control the social media world over the past 2 years.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, everybody is pretty much making their start. I mean, pretty much. That's why I love TikTok. I mean, anybody can become famous, and that's the thing. You just have to have, the right things. You have to be entertaining first of all, and you can pretty much do anything on TikTok. Hell, I've seen somebody with 1 million followers and they make candles. like it's crazy to me, and that's why I thought about it whenever we were because the TWF TikTok, it has not been up very long. Like, it's been up. This will be like the second week that it's been up, and the one video that blew up on there, it was myself and Derek Destroyer. I just posted like 3 moves from the match, and it got 11.3 thousand views, and it has like 500 something likes, 30 something comments, and I was really not expecting that. Like, it kind of just came out of nowhere. Like, I posted the first 2 TikToks. I posted like 2 clips from the training practice the day before, and then I woke up the next morning and they both had almost 10,000 views. And I was like, well, damn. And I just kind of kept pushing it. And every comment that I seen that, kind of appealed to my eye, I just made a video on it. And I'm going to see if I can grow it that way.
That's very much the way to do TikTok in my mind, because there's a huge wrestling fan base on TikTok with the people that talk about wrestling all the time, like the wrestling TikTok is huge. But there's nobody that's really doing what you're doing right now. And I've seen, like you're saying, you're your TikToks have been doing very well. So that seems to be
almost at 500.
Go ahead.
I think we're almost at 500 followers, and it's been 2 weeks.
That's the route that seems to be working for a lot of people, and hopefully it keeps working for you. You seem like you're very genuine about your aspirations.
But very much so. I want to be one of the. I want to be a huge name, and I want to push myself more and more to reach that goal in any way I possibly can. And I'm gonna continue trying until I get to that point.
Before we close this out here, we're almost at 20. We're just above 25 minutes. Typically I don't try to do over 30. We're gonna close this out with a question that I have to ask you. So, in my mind,
Right.
the best backyard wrestling match I've ever seen was not even technically a backyard wrestling match because it was in a church. But anyway, it was at a show called Best in the Yard 3. And it was Cage's like final hurrah to backyard wrestling before he went full pro with Fuego, right?
Actually, he was at the time. Okay, I can give you a little backstory on this. I was invited to Best in the Yard 3. This is whenever I almost about started my first career. I was invited to it. So Cage, at the time, he was working on the independent scene as Fuego del Sol, but Cameron hacked the KBW channel, and that's how they started their rivalry. It was because he was etching at Cage's mind to come back into the BYW world for one last match, and then it ended up becoming 2 last matches, which they led it Best in the Yard 4, and that was the show that I got to meet Cage and actually watch him wrestle. And it was if the question you're going to is my best BYW match, it has to be with Cage, and it was Best in the Yard 4, and it was Cage and AK-47 versus Cameron Jackson, Drew Hood, and Kevin Shaw. And that was at Best in the Yard 4. That match was, I think, tops Best in the Yard 3 with just Cameron Jackson and Cage.
Okay, see, I didn't know that Best in the Yard 4 was even a thing. That's something I'm going to have to watch after this podcast gets done. Anyway, I have, there's also a secret match out there that I haven't been able to find, but I've seen clips from both AK and Cage on it in the past. And there's this independent show match out there somewhere with AK versus Cage, and there's clips from it all over like YouTube and stuff, but never the full match. And that's going to be something I'm really going to look for again too. You bringing up AK really brought that into my mind again. But anyway, it's been really cool to sit down and see your perspective on a lot of things.
Oh man, hell yeah, man! I had a great time.
All right. So, guys, this is going to be the end of this interview. This has been your boy Cass. That was your boy Caution, and we're gonna go ahead and hop out of here. I'll see you guys whenever we have a interesting interview to get into. Bye, guys.